The galaxy had been quiet for 500 years. Three great powers ruled the stars with absolute authority, dividing the cosmos between them like ancient kings carving up kingdoms. The Zephyrian Empire controlled the outer rim with their sleek, silver warships and energy weapons that could slice through asteroids. The Crystalline Collective dominated the core worlds, their living crystal ships bending space itself to their will. At the center, the Nexus Swarm maintained order with billions of hive-minded creatures acting as one terrifying force. These three powers had made peace through strength and mutual respect. They followed ancient laws about territory and trade, keeping their conflicts small and profitable. War was bad for business, and business kept the galaxy spinning. Each empire knew exactly where their borders ended and their rivals began. Each knew that breaking the old treaties would mean devastation for everyone. Earth was not part of this arrangement. The blue-green world spinning quietly in its remote corner of space was considered nothing more than a curiosity. The few aliens who had bothered to visit reported back about a primitive species that had barely learned to travel between stars. Humans were violent, disorganized, and spent most of their time fighting each other over resources and ideas. The official galactic assessment was clear, not worth the effort. Captain Marcus Steele stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, staring out at the endless black between stars. His ship was humanity's pride, a massive 2-kilometer-long fortress of steel and determination, where alien vessels curved and flowed like art pieces. The Defiance looked exactly like what it was, a weapon built by a species that understood war. Thick armor plating covered every surface, and enough firepower to level a city bristled from its hull. Steele was 52 years old with iron-gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. He had fought in the resource wars on Mars, survived the Titan Rebellion, and helped establish humanity's first colonies beyond the solar system. His crew of 15,000 had been handpicked from Earth's military elite. They all knew their mission was supposed to be simple: patrol the outer colonies and make sure everything stayed peaceful. That was before the message arrived. Dr. Evelyn Cross, the ship's xenobiologist, brought the decoded transmission to Steele's ready room. She was a brilliant woman in her 30s with short black hair and intense green eyes. For 3 years, she had been studying every piece of alien technology humans could find, always searching for advantages that might help her species survive in a hostile galaxy. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, her voice tight with controlled anger. The holographic display showed a star map with red X marks scattered across several sectors. "We've been tracking our missing colony ships. The transport vessels that vanished over the past 5 years weren't lost to pirates or accidents." Steele studied the display, feeling ice form in his stomach. 12 colony ships, each carrying thousands of families seeking new lives among the stars. All reported destroyed by various causes: engine failures, asteroid impacts, navigation errors. The official reports had been filed and forgotten. "The patterns don't match natural disasters," Cross continued. "Every single loss happened near the border of Zephyrian space. I've been analyzing debris fields and energy signatures. Captain, they were hunted down and destroyed systematically." Lieutenant James Parker, the ship's tactical officer, joined them in the ready room. He was young but sharp, with the kind of analytical mind that could see patterns others missed. "Sir, if Dr. Cross is right, we're talking about 60,000 colonists, men, women, children, all killed for the crime of being human in the wrong part of space." Steele walked to the viewport, looking out at stars that suddenly seemed less distant and more threatening. The galaxy's three great powers maintained their peace by eliminating anything that might disrupt the balance. Humans were expanding too quickly, growing too bold. The aliens had decided to solve the problem quietly, making humanity's expansion look like bad luck rather than genocide. "Captain," Parker said carefully, "our orders are to patrol Earth's established colonies. Going into Zephyrian space would be an act of war." Steele turned back to his officers. These were good people, who understood the risks and consequences of their actions. They also understood what it meant to be human. When your people were murdered, you didn't file reports and wait for diplomats to argue about it. You acted. How long to reach the last known position of the colony ship New Horizon? Steele asked. Cross checked her calculations. 18 hours, at maximum burn, sir. But we'll be deep in alien territory. Then we better make sure we're ready for company, Steele replied. Alert all departments. We're going to find out what happened to New Horizon, and if there are survivors, we're bringing them home. The Defiance changed course, its massive engines burning bright as it accelerated toward enemy space. Behind them, Earth continued its slow rotation, unaware that one of its ships was about to shatter 5 centuries of galactic peace. The great powers had made their rules and enforced them through fear and overwhelming force. They were about to learn that humans had never been good at following other people's rules. Word count 496. The Defiance slipped through hyperspace like a ghost, its stealth systems masking its approach into Zephyrian territory. Captain Steele had ordered complete communication silence. No signals in or out, no active scans that might give away their position. They were hunting in enemy waters now, and surprise was their only advantage. Chief Engineer Rita Hawkins worked frantically in the engine room, pushing human technology beyond its designed limits. She was a stocky woman in her 40s with calloused hands and grease-stained coveralls. While alien ships relied on elegant energy systems, the Defiance ran on raw mechanical power that could be repaired with spare parts and determination. Rita had been retrofitting the engines with salvaged alien components for months, creating hybrid systems that no galactic engineer would recognize. Captain, we're approaching the coordinates, announced Lieutenant Parker from the tactical station. His fingers danced across the control panels, preparing weapon systems that combined human kinetics with alien energy tech, dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds. The Defiance emerged from the swirling vortex of hyperspace into normal space near a barren asteroid field. What they found there made everyone on the bridge go silent. Floating among the rocks were the twisted remains of the colony ship New Horizon, her hull split open like a broken egg. But this wasn't the debris field of an accident. Dr. Cross ran her scans, her face growing pale as the data streamed across her screen. Captain, the damage patterns are consistent with Zephyrian plasma weapons. The ship was disabled first, then systematically destroyed. But sir, there are life pod signatures in the asteroid field. Some of the colonists survived. Steele leaned forward in his command chair. How many? Approximately 200 life pods scattered throughout the field. Most show active life support, but they're failing. They've been drifting here for weeks. Before Steele could give orders, the ship's alarm system screamed to life. Parker's tactical display lit up with new contacts. 6 Zephyrian patrol ships, coming in fast from behind the largest asteroid. They were waiting for us, sir. The alien ships were beautiful and deadly, their hulls flowing like liquid silver through space. Each one was half the size of the Defiance, but armed with weapons that could punch through most known armor. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never met anything they couldn't kill. The lead Zephyrian vessel opened communications. Commander Vexitar appeared on the main screen, his tall, thin frame covered in the ceremonial armor of his rank. His species had pale blue skin and eyes like chips of ice. When he spoke, his voice carried the arrogance of 500 years of galactic dominance. Primitive vessel, you have violated Zephyrian space and interfered with official salvage operations. Surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded, or we will destroy you as we destroyed the criminal vessel you seek to rescue. Steele stood slowly, his hands clasped behind his back. When he spoke, his voice was calm and deadly quiet. Commander, Vexitar, those were civilian colonists, families with children. You murdered 60,000 innocent people. Vexitar's expression didn't change. We eliminated a threat to galactic stability. Your species breeds too quickly and expands without permission. The Galactic Council has decided that human expansion must be controlled. The alien commander gestured to his weapons officer. You have 10 seconds to surrender before we add your ship to the debris field. Steele looked at his crew. Parker had his weapons ready. Cross was already coordinating rescue operations for the life pods. Rita's voice came through the comm system, reporting that all systems were running at peak efficiency. These people had followed him into enemy space knowing they might not return home. They deserved a captain who wouldn't back down. Commander, Vextar, Steele said, his voice carrying throughout both ships. You just made a very serious mistake. You told me this was official policy, not the action of some rogue commander. That means your entire government is responsible for genocide. The alien's eyes narrowed. Your protests are meaningless, human. You are outgunned 6-1. Steele smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. You're thinking like a civilized species, Commander. You assume we'll follow your rules of engagement, fight honorably, and accept defeat when outnumbered. But you see, humans aren't civilized. We're survivors. He turned to Parker. Target their lead ship. All weapons maximum power. Show them what human engineering can do. The Defiance opened fire with a sound like thunder. Kinetic rounds accelerated to incredible speeds, slammed into the lead Zephyrian ship while particle beams carved through its elegant armor. The alien vessel, designed for graceful combat between honorable opponents, simply disintegrated under the brutal assault. Vextar's shocked face appeared on screen from his new flagship. Impossible. Your primitive weapons cannot penetrate our shields. We don't use shields, Steele replied calmly as the Defiance's guns swiveled toward the next target. We use armor and redundancy, and the assumption that someone's going to try to kill us. Your weapons are designed to disable and capture. Ours are designed to destroy completely. The battle became a massacre. The Zephyrian ships, built for elegant duels between civilized opponents, couldn't adapt to humanity's brutal efficiency. They had never faced an enemy that treated war as a problem to be solved, rather than a dance to be performed. Within minutes, 5 alien ships had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris. The last Zephyrian vessel tried to flee, but Parker's targeting systems locked onto its engines. The alien ship died in space, powerless and defenseless. Commander Vextar's final transmission was filled with disbelief and dawning terror. What are you? What kind of monsters build weapons like these? Steele's response was quiet and final. We're the kind of monsters you created when you started murdering our families. Send word to your superiors, Commander. Tell them that humanity is no longer hiding in the outer rim. Tell them that when you hunt humans, sometimes the humans hunt back. The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, the Defiance began collecting life pods, rescuing the survivors of New Horizon, while the wreckage of 6 Zephyrian warships drifted around them like a warning to the galaxy. The age of human isolation was over. News of the massacre in the asteroid field spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Commander Vextar's final transmission had been intercepted by monitoring stations across 3 sectors. Within hours, the impossible had become undeniable. A single human ship had destroyed an entire Zephyrian patrol squadron without taking significant damage. On the crystal world of Nexar Prime, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session for the first time in 2 centuries. The massive chamber carved from living crystal hummed with tension, as representatives from the 3 great powers took their positions. High Arbiter Zixthul of the Crystalline Collective called the session to order, her translucent form shimmering with barely controlled anxiety. We face an unprecedented crisis, she announced, her voice echoing through the chamber like wind chimes in a storm. The balance that has maintained galactic peace for 500 years has been shattered by a species we dismissed as primitives. Fleet Commander Thakmor of the Nexus Swarm clicked his mandibles in agitation. As the military coordinator for billions of hive-minded warriors, he had never encountered a tactical problem he couldn't solve through overwhelming numbers. The humans destroyed 6 warships with 1 vessel. This suggests technology far beyond what our scouts reported. Supreme Admiral Corvex of the Zephyrian Empire stood at his designated speaking platform, his usually immaculate uniform disheveled from rushing to the emergency session. My fleet commanders are requesting immediate reinforcements. They report that human weapons ignore our defensive systems entirely. Their ship design philosophy is completely alien to us. The holographic display in the center of the chamber showed tactical recordings from the battle. The assembled representatives watched in stunned silence as the human vessel, ugly and blocky compared to their graceful ships, systematically destroyed forces that should have overwhelmed it. The humans fought without honor, without ceremony, and without mercy. They treat war as extermination rather than conquest, Admiral Corvex continued. Our ships are designed to disable and capture. Theirs are built to kill everything in their path. When we demand surrender, they respond with total destruction. High Arbiter Zixthal's crystalline features reflected the tactical display. The question before us is simple. Do we negotiate with this new threat or eliminate it before it grows stronger? Fleet Commander Thakmore's multifaceted eyes gleamed with predatory interest. My analysis indicates immediate military action. The humans have one ship in our territory. We have thousands. Mathematics favors overwhelming force. Meanwhile, aboard the Defiance, Captain Steele was dealing with his own crisis. The rescued colonists filled every available space on the ship, 200 survivors of a massacre that had claimed nearly 3,000 lives. Dr. Cross worked tirelessly in the medical bay, treating radiation sickness and psychological trauma, while coordinating with the ship's counselors. Lieutenant Parker approached Steele on the bridge with long-range sensor data. Captain, we're picking up massive fleet movements throughout Zephyrian space. It looks like they're mobilizing everything they have. Steele studied the tactical display showing hundreds of alien ships converging on their position from multiple directions. How long before they reach us? 12 hours, sir. Maybe less if they push their engines hard. Chief Engineer Rita Hawkins joined them, wiping grease from her hands with a stained rag. Captain, I can give you speed, but not for long. We're carrying too many refugees and our ammunition supplies are running low. We can't fight a fleet action and protect all these civilians. Steele walked to the viewport, looking out at the asteroid field where wreckage from the recent battle still drifted in the void. Behind him, he could hear the quiet conversations of his bridge crew as they prepared for what might be their final battle. These people had followed him into enemy space knowing the risks. Now they faced impossible odds defending refugees who had already lost everything. Dr. Cross approached him with a report pad in her hands. Captain, I've been analyzing the alien tactical recordings from our battle. Their weapons are more advanced than ours, but their tactics are centuries out of date. They've been fighting each other for so long that they've forgotten how to adapt to truly different opponents. What are you suggesting, Doctor? They're expecting us to fight by their rules, stand-up battles between fleets, with formal challenges, and honorable surrender when outgunned. But we don't have to fight their way. Parker overheard and approached them. Sir, Dr. Cross might be onto something. Our ship design gives us advantages they don't expect. We can operate in environments that would cripple their vessels. We can take damage that would destroy them and keep fighting. Steele looked at his officers, seeing the same determination that had brought them this far. The galaxy's three great powers were mobilizing to crush humanity before it could become a threat. They saw humans as primitives who had gotten lucky once and needed to be reminded of their place. They were about to learn that humans had never accepted their assigned place in anyone's order. All hands, this is the captain, Steele announced over the ship's communication system. In 12 hours, we're going to face the largest fleet in galactic history. They outnumber us 1,000 to 1. They have better technology, more experience, and every tactical advantage except one. He paused, looking around the bridge at faces filled with grim determination. They think they know how humans fight. They think we'll follow their rules and accept defeat when the odds are against us. They're about to discover that humans don't fight wars to be honorable. We fight wars to win no matter what it costs. The Defiance began moving deeper into the asteroid field, using the debris as cover while Rita and her engineering teams made desperate modifications to their weapons and defensive systems. Dr. Cross worked with the tactical department to analyze every piece of data they had on alien ship design, looking for weaknesses that could be exploited. As the hours passed, the approaching alien fleet grew larger on their sensors. Ships from all three galactic powers were converging on their position, united for the first time in centuries by the need to eliminate the human threat. Captain Steele stood on his bridge, watching the enemy fleet approach like a storm made of steel and energy. His ship was damaged, outnumbered, and carrying civilians who needed protection. By every rule of civilized warfare, he should surrender and hope for mercy. But Marcus Steele had never been a civilized man, and humanity had never been a civilized species. The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin. The combined galactic fleet emerged from hyperspace like a tide of stars. Over 800 warships from 3 different empires arranged in perfect battle formation. Supreme Admiral Corvex commanded from his flagship, a massive Zephyrian dreadnought that gleamed like polished silver. Beside him, Fleet Commander Thakmor's bioships pulsed with organic energy, while High Arbiter Zixthol's crystal vessels bent space around them in impossible geometries. Captain Steele watched the enemy fleet deploy through the Defiance's main view screen. The sheer scale was overwhelming. Each of the alien capital ships was larger than his vessel, and there were dozens of them supported by hundreds of escorts and fighters. By any rational calculation, the battle was already over. "Captain." "Lieutenant," Parker reported from Tactical. "They're maintaining standard fleet formation. 3 battle lines with screening elements and reserve forces. Very traditional." Chief Engineer Rita Hawkins spoke from her position at the engineering station she had moved to the bridge. "All systems are running hot, sir. I've rerouted power, from life support to weapons and engines. We have maybe 2 hours of combat capability before we start losing critical systems." Dr. Cross looked up from her analysis console. "Captain, I've identified structural weaknesses in their ship designs. The Zephyrians rely on energy shields that can be overloaded. The crystalline ships are vulnerable to kinetic impacts at specific resonance frequencies. The Nexus bioships have centralized nervous systems that can be disrupted." The communication array crackled to life as Supreme Admiral Corvex's image appeared on the main screen. Behind him, the other alien commanders stood in a show of unified authority. "Human vessel, you are surrounded by the combined might of 3 galactic empires. You have committed acts of war against established galactic order. Surrender immediately and your crew will be granted the mercy of quick execution." Steele stood slowly, straightening his uniform jacket. "Admiral, I appreciate the offer, but I'm afraid I'll have to decline. You see, we humans have a saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog." Fleet Commander Thakmor's insectoid features showed confusion. "Your primitive analogies are meaningless. You face annihilation." "Maybe," Steele replied calmly. "But before this day is over, you're going to learn why humans became the dominant species on a planet where everything was trying to kill us." He turned to his crew. "All stations, battle ready. Remember, we're not trying to win a traditional engagement. We're trying to break their will to fight." The alien fleet began its approach in perfect formation, exactly as their tactical manuals prescribed. Hundreds of ships moving in coordinated waves, their weapons charging in unison. It was a display of overwhelming force that had cowed civilizations for centuries. The Defiance waited in the asteroid field, using the debris as cover while its crew made final preparations. Rita had linked the ship's structural integrity fields to create focused gravitational anomalies. Dr. Cross had programmed their weapons to exploit the specific vulnerabilities she had identified. Parker coordinated targeting solutions that prioritized maximum psychological impact over tactical efficiency. When the alien fleet reached optimal firing range, they opened up with a barrage that lit up space like a miniature star. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and exotic matter projectiles converged on the human ship's position. The asteroid field exploded in clouds of vaporized rock and metal. The Defiance emerged from the chaos, damaged but intact, its hull scarred but unbroken. The aliens had expected their opening salvo to end the battle. Instead, they watched in growing unease as the human ship accelerated directly toward their formation. "Impossible," High Arbiter Zixthul whispered. "No ship can survive that level of concentrated fire." Steele's voice came across all communication channels. "You built your ships to fight other civilized species. We built ours to survive anything the universe could throw at us, including each other." The Defiance plunged into the alien formation like a missile, its weapons firing continuously. But instead of targeting the largest ships, it went after support vessels and command nodes. Rita's gravitational weapons tore through energy shields like they were paper. Dr. Cross's resonance frequencies shattered crystal hulls and disrupted bioship nervous systems. Parker's targeting computers identified and eliminated communication, relays, and sensor arrays. The carefully coordinated alien fleet began to fall apart as ships lost contact with their commanders. The humans weren't fighting to destroy the entire fleet. They were fighting to create chaos and confusion. Within minutes, the perfect battle formation had devolved into a confused melee. All ships, maintain formation, Admiral Korvex ordered, but his commands weren't getting through. The Defiance had systematically eliminated the fleet's communication network. Commander Thakmor tried to coordinate his bioships through pheromone signals, but the human ship's exotic weapons were disrupting even biological communication methods. They fight without honor. They target support systems instead of engaging our battleships directly. The Defiance danced through the chaos, using its superior acceleration and maneuverability to stay ahead of the alien weapons. Every time the enemy ships tried to surround it, Rita would activate the gravitational drives and the human vessel would slip away like smoke, leaving destroyed escorts and confused capital ships in its wake. Dr. Cross's voice came over the intercom, barely audible over the sound of straining systems and weapons fire. Captain, their fleet cohesion is collapsing. 30% of their ships have lost main communication. Individual commanders are starting to make independent decisions. That was exactly what Steele had been waiting for. Parker, target the Zephyrian flagship. All remaining ammunition, everything we have left. The Defiance turned toward Admiral Korvex's massive dreadnought, its battered hull streaming atmosphere and debris. Rita pushed the engines beyond their safety limits, giving the ship one final burst of speed. Every weapon on the human vessel fired simultaneously, creating a focused lance of destruction that punched through the alien flagship's shields and hull like they were made of paper. The Zephyrian dreadnought exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the entire battlefield. Admiral Korvex's final transmission was a scream of disbelief and rage that echoed across the fleet communication networks before cutting to static. In the sudden silence that followed, the remaining alien ships found themselves leaderless and confused. The impossible had happened. A single human vessel had destroyed their flagship and turned their perfectly planned battle into a disaster. Commander Thakmor's bioships began to withdraw, their hive mind calculating that the cost of continuing the battle had become too high.
High Arbiter. Zixthal's crystal vessels followed, their commanders unwilling to risk their irreplaceable ships against an enemy that refused to fight by civilized rules. The Defiance hung motionless in space, its hull cracked and systems failing,
surrounded by the wreckage of dozens of alien ships. Captain Steele slumped in his command chair, exhausted but victorious. The greatest fleet in galactic history was retreating, defeated by a single human ship and the crew that refused to accept the impossible. 3 months after the Battle of the Kepler asteroid field, the galaxy was a very different place. The impossible victory of a single human ship over the combined might of 3 galactic empires had shattered 5 centuries of established order. Trade routes that had operated on ancient agreements now buzzed with uncertainty. Worlds that had never questioned their place in the galactic hierarchy suddenly found themselves reconsidering their allegiances. Captain Marcus Steele stood in the council chamber of New Geneva Station, humanity's first diplomatic outpost beyond Earth's solar system. The station had been constructed in record time from salvaged alien technology and human determination, a symbol of humanity's new presence among the stars. Through the massive viewports, he could see ships from dozens of species arriving for the historic peace negotiations. Dr. Evelyn Cross approached him with a data pad containing the latest intelligence reports. Captain, the political situation is more complex than we anticipated. The defeat at Kepler has caused massive instability within all 3 empires. Several client species are declaring independence, and there are reports of civil unrest on multiple core worlds. The aftermath had been chaotic but predictable. When the surviving alien fleets limped back to their home territories with stories of impossible defeat, the news had spread faster than their governments could contain it. Species that had lived under galactic rule for centuries suddenly realized that the great powers weren't invincible. Revolution and rebellion had followed inevitably. Lieutenant James Parker, now promoted to commander after his tactical brilliance during the battle, joined them at the viewport. "Sir, the Zephyrian delegation has arrived. High Commander Veltaran is requesting a private meeting before the formal negotiations begin. Steele nodded grimly. Veltaran had been Korvex's second-in-command and had assumed leadership of the Zephyrian Empire after the Admiral's death. The alien was known for his pragmatism rather than his pride, which gave Steele hope for productive discussions. The meeting took place in a neutral conference room designed to accommodate multiple alien physiologies. High Commander Veltaran entered with minimal escort, his tall frame moving with the careful dignity of someone who had learned to respect human capabilities. When he spoke, his voice carried none of the arrogance that had characterized previous Zephyrian communications. Captain Steele, I come not as a conqueror but as someone seeking to prevent further bloodshed. Your species has proven that the old galactic order is dead. The question now is what will replace it. Steele studied the alien commander carefully. That depends entirely on whether your people are willing to accept humans as equals, rather than primitives to be eliminated when convenient. Veltaran's expression was difficult to read, but his tone suggested genuine regret. The systematic elimination of your colony ships was decided by my predecessor without full council approval. It was a mistake born of fear and ignorance. The Zephyrian people have paid dearly for that error in judgment. Chief Engineer Rita Hawkins, now serving as humanity's technical advisor, activated a holographic display showing the current state of galactic affairs. Her analysis was characteristically blunt. Commander, your empire is fracturing. 12 client worlds have declared independence in the past month alone. The Nexus Swarm is consolidating its core territories and abandoning its outer colonies. The Crystalline Collective is dealing with internal philosophical disputes about whether to engage with humans or retreat to their home cluster. The truth was unavoidable. The Battle of Kepler had done more than defeat a fleet. It had broken the psychological foundation of galactic dominance. The three great powers had maintained their authority through the belief that they were superior to all other species. When a single human ship had shattered that belief, it had unleashed forces that couldn't be contained. Over the following days, representatives from across the galaxy gathered at New Geneva Station. The formal negotiations were complex and often heated, but they were guided by a simple reality. The old system of galactic apartheid was finished. Humanity had proven that it wouldn't accept second-class status, and their victory had inspired dozens of other species to demand better treatment. Dr. Cross worked tirelessly with alien scientists to establish new protocols for technological exchange and colonial expansion. The discovery that human engineering could overcome supposedly superior alien technology had created demand for collaborative research projects. Where once the galaxy's knowledge had been hoarded by the three great powers, now there was genuine interest in sharing and learning. The final peace treaty was signed in a ceremony broadcast across the galaxy. The document established the Galactic Cooperation Accords, replacing the old empire-based system with a federation of independent worlds united by trade and mutual defense agreements. Humanity was granted full membership and territory rights, with Earth becoming one of the Federation's founding council worlds. Captain Steele stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station as the various delegations departed for their home worlds. The view showed a steady stream of ships representing dozens of species, many of whom were meeting as equals for the first time in centuries. It was a sight that would have been impossible just months earlier. Commander Parker joined him, along with Dr. Cross and Rita Hawkins. These people had followed him into enemy space on what should have been a suicide mission. Instead, they had changed the course of galactic history. Any regrets, Captain? Dr. Cross asked quietly. Steele considered the question carefully. The battle had cost lives on both sides. The political upheaval that followed had caused chaos and uncertainty across the galaxy. But when he thought about the colonists they had saved and the future his actions had secured for humanity, the answer was clear. We went out there to rescue 200 survivors, he said finally. We ended up liberating half the galaxy. I can live with those consequences. Rita laughed, the sound carrying exhaustion and satisfaction in equal measure. Besides, somebody had to teach those aliens that humans don't stay in their assigned corner of the playground. The Defiance itself had been retired to a place of honor in Earth's orbital museums, its battle-scarred hull preserved as a monument to human determination. New ships were being built, incorporating lessons learned from both the battle and subsequent technological exchanges with alien species. Humanity's expansion into the galaxy would continue, but now it would happen as part of a community rather than in isolation. As the station rotated slowly in its orbit, Steele could see Earth rising. Beyond the viewport, blue and beautiful and no longer alone, the planet that had once been dismissed as a primitive backwater was now the diplomatic heart of a new galactic order. It had taken one ship and one crew willing to risk everything to prove that humanity belonged among the stars. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human partnership with the galaxy had begun. Word count, 495.